Hey guys, it's Carter back with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about what I think the best Batman live action adaptation is. In this video specifically, I'm only going to do the live action movies. The first Batman in this video we're going to talk about is Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton's obviously a lot of people's favorite Batman, and I understand why people see him as their favorite Batman, as most of them grew up with him. Basically, I'm saying they're blinded by nostalgia, because this Batman was very overrated. Batman's character was not intended to kill, yet his character repeatedly does this within the two movies that Michael Keaton gets. Some of the pros, though, would be Michael Keaton's performance as Bruce Wayne. And I very much love the setting that Tim Burton gives, the aesthetic of Gotham City. And I would love to see the aesthetic Tim Burton gave with Gotham portrayed in James Gunn's DCU. But due to Batman killing, I'm going to immediately eliminate him from being the best live-action Batman adaptation. Nextly, we have Val Kilmer in Batman Forever. I think Val Kilmer was a very underrated Bruce Wayne and Batman. I think his movies are much better than Michael Keaton's, and I would have him higher as a Batman and a Bruce Wayne over Michael Keaton. I would say Michael Keaton has the edge on him over Bruce, but in terms of how much better Val Kilmer's Batman is, it cancels out. I'm going to leave him in the running for the best Batman just because I think he's very underrated. We'll see what happens later on in the video though. So the next Batman is Batnips, or George Clooney. George Clooney is a really good casting in my opinion, but the writing was not that good. And it was very, very campy. Very, very campy and comedic and really too light. But for the time, a lot of people viewed it as a very good Batman portrayal. It kind of takes from Adam West's Batman and portrays it in movie form. For what it was going for, I don't think it necessarily executed poorly. I just don't think it's that good of an adaptation for Batman. So I'm definitely going to eliminate Batnips for being the greatest Batman adaptation. All respect though. So next Batman, we have probably the most liked Batman portrayal, and that is Christian Bale. So Christian Bale, there's a lot of pros and there is few cons. For this Batman, I'm going to dive deep and thorough into the pros and cons, starting out with the pros. So the pros are, this trilogy is amazing. The movies are amazing. Christopher Nolan is an amazing director. He constantly produces amazing movies. One of the most well-liked directors of this generation. The movies obviously have great writing and great casting. And casting leads me to there being great villains. Heath Ledger, Bane, Ra's al Ghul, Catwoman also, which isn't necessarily a villain, but I just like to throw her in there. Also, I think Christian Bale is a really respectable casting for Batman. Well, not so Batman, but more so Bruce Wayne, because he had an insanely good Bruce Wayne. The best of every single live-action Batman adaptation in movie form. I'm saying in movie form because there are shouts for Gotham. The trilogy also has amazing acting, and it consistently has amazing suits for many characters. Moving on to the cons. The cons are the Batman is slightly lackluster. The setting for the movies also feels really basic and not authentic, especially compared to Tim Burton's. Gotham just feels like a normal city when it shouldn't feel like that. It should feel more unique and more aesthetically pleasing, I would say. And then obviously the voice. Bale's voice is very iconic, not for necessarily the best reasons. Bale's voice was terrible. As Batman, of course, not just Bale's voice. And also fight choreography and fight scenes specifically. Not action scenes, because the action scenes were good. But fight scenes specifically, they were very lackluster. There's many memes on how Christian Bale's Batman fights, and it's very funny. But yeah, I think he's definitely one of the greater Batmans and one of the most well-liked ones. And he's also one of the best, if not the best. We'll see in this video later on after I review all of them. Also, a little hot take for the Batman trilogy. I personally find Batman Begins to be the most entertaining one. It's really a toss-up between that and Dark Knight. For me, Batman Begins is the best of the trilogy. But next one we have up is the most overglazed Batman of all. Next, we have Ben Affleck. I genuinely don't see how people like this adaptation. There are so many cons. I'm just going to do cons first and then go over the few pros. Cons being killing. I don't know what Zack Snyder was doing with this. If Batman kills, he's a completely different character. So that automatically makes it a terrible adaptation of the character. The writing of the character in general, regardless of the killing, is just bad as well. They just mischaracterize him to be like a dark figure that doesn't really provide hope, but they did that with many characters in the DCU. Batman should always be a symbol of hope, not fear. Batman should be feared by criminals, but not by civilians and bystanders in Gotham. Overall, the Batman was just very lackluster. The Bruce was okay, though. The main pro I have is the casting. I think Ben Affleck, this might be a topic for another day, for another video, but I think Ben Affleck, if he was around the same age where he got casted for the DCEU, he would be the perfect casting for James Gunn's DCU. I think it could have nailed Batman's character and been one of the, if not the best Batman adaptation if given the right writing. Same goes to Henry Cavill. Zack Snyder just messed up this universe completely. The potential was outstanding though, I'll give you that. Ben Affleck also did perform well in terms of acting. I just think it was like the script and the writing that really hindered that performance. And despite the killing, the action and the fight scenes were pretty cool. I'm gonna be honest, the fight choreography was awesome. But yeah, due to Ben Affleck killing, he is automatically disregarded in the conversation. I don't care what you have to say, there's no debate. So next, moving on to the latest Batman, which is Robert Pattinson's Batman. Where do I even begin? Robert Pattinson. No bias, obviously. There's no bias when I'm talking about this. So the pros would be, it's a good movie. There's a great villain in Paul Dano's Riddler. All characters are written well, and I would say they're correctly portrayed from the comics. Stemming from that pro for me, the biggest complaint about this Batman that I've heard, about this movie in general, is Bruce Wayne is too emo. This guy is in his second or third year, I believe, I'm pretty sure second, of being Batman, and he's still grieving from his father and mother's loss. He's learning how to be Batman, he wants to be alone, and I completely get that. For his character, that is very much shown in the comic books in earlier years of Batman. But the writing overall for the movie, I would say, is great. And Robert Pattinson plays an amazing Batman. I believe it's true to the comics as well. And the suit, magnifique. And for the setting, it means something to me, man. The setting is beautiful. The opening scene, well, not the opening scene, actually. That is Paul Dano killing someone. But the opening scene where there's a monologue of Robert Pattinson talking, you know, like I could recite that whole thing. I'm gonna be real with you. That's just me, though. It really does feel reminiscent of Tim Burton's aesthetic, but more modern. And then also the action and fight scenes are amazing as well, I would say. And there's a really good subplot, like the underlining details of Hush. Now moving on to the cons. So the cons, nothing. I'm kidding. So the cons, I would say, is the Bruce Wayne. I know you're probably thinking, like, there was a purpose of not having much Bruce Wayne, and I already explained it in the video, which you would be correct. I just, like, that's just something to complain about, because there isn't many complaints I have. I would say the Bruce Wayne is because there was literally minimal screen time of Bruce Wayne. Even though I understand why there was, I would have liked a little bit more. Maybe make the movie like 4 hours so we get like maybe like 10 more minutes of Bruce Wayne's screen time and just like 50 more minutes of Zoe Kravitz.
Out of pocket for that shit.
The overarching storyline of where he is kind of like resonating with grievance and trying to be a symbol of vengeance, and then he transforms to the end of the movie where he's like recognizing he needs to be a symbol of hope for the people of Gotham City. That is how you write Batman, James Gunn, please. But yeah, let's compare the two greatest Batmans. I apologize, I forgot to include Val Kilmer, but looking back at it, I wasn't gonna choose Val Kilmer anyway, but he deserved to be there. I'm sorry, guys. So we have Christian Bale. Hopefully I did that. Then we have Robert Pattinson. Which one do you think? So me personally, I would take Robert Pattinson. Key reasons being the accuracy to the comic books, the amazing Batman, the detective Batman, the setting. The pros completely outweigh the cons. There quite literally is no cons. I just had to give something to bicker about, I guess. Compared to the Batman trilogy, which is one of the, if not the best trilogy in comic book trilogies of all time. And I'm not saying Robert Pattinson's movie solos the trilogies, but what I am saying is it's a better adaptation of the character, which was the purpose of the video. So the best adaptation in live action in movie form is, say it with me guys, Robert Pattinson. Yeah. Good job. Not bad, kid. Okay, well, that's it for this video today. I hope you enjoyed. Hopefully, I'll be more consistent and stray away from my goat in that field of content creation, which is Corey Kenshin. That's it for this video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Totally not biased. Peace.